Let's build a fully functional analog clock in Apple Motion. The clock face is round, so we'll start with a square canvas, 1080 by 1080. In this tutorial, we're building a 60-second animation, but you can easily make a modified version capable of playing for an hour or a day. The center is very important for this composition, so activate the rulers and add two guides meeting at 0, 0. Add a background with a radial gradient. Note that I am routinely changing the default layer names to sensible values throughout the video. Publish the fill parameter to make the background optional. This may be useful when you use it as an FCP template. Add a circle, 515 pixels radius, and set the fill to a radial gradient. Add a pattern that will read as reflections on the outer ring. Add another circle, 480 pixels radius, and set the fill to radial, and set the pattern to resemble that of the background. It will serve as background for clock hands. I'm using simple patterns. You can of course go as fancy as your time permits with the design. Now the minute ticks. They are made out of a single line, 30 pixels long and 8 pixels wide, duplicated 60 times. I zoomed in as the line looks tiny in the viewport. Add and center the tick line, set the color to similar to the outer ring. We need to put the tick line into a replicator. In the replicator controls, set shape to circle. Set arrangement to outline and the radius to slightly smaller than the outer ring. Set number of points to 60. Group the elements and repeat the exercise for the hour ticks. Group the elements and repeat the exercise for the hour ticks. Rather than starting from scratch, I duplicated the minute tick line and adjusted its parameters to be 60 pixels long and 18 pixels wide. Put the hours ticks in a new replicator. Set the shape to circle. Set the radius to identical as in minute ticks replicator. Set the arrangement to outline, align angle to on, and points to 12. Next step is the numbers for each of the 12 hours. Start with a text generator, numbers. The counter by default increases by 1 on each frame, which is okay for us. Set the layout to both horizontal and vertical center. Set the font face and size, adjust the color. Use a replicator on the numbers layer and configure it. Use circle shape 12 points and set the radius. We need to deactivate play frames and set the source start offset to 1 so that each consecutive instance shows a different hour. Finally, use an offset of 16.67 to put the number 12 at the top of the ring. group the clock face elements together and rename the group. Time to build the hands. Start with the hour hand. Draw a rectangle with rounded corners. Center it horizontally, then move it up to point at noon. Move the anchor point down to the center of the clock and adjust the shape. Convert it to editable and decrease the first two X values. Finally, set the color. Next, the minute hand. A rounded rectangle 400 by 40. Again, move it up and move the anchor point down to the composition center. When you change the color, you may see that the two hands are now hard to differentiate. So let's add a drop shadow to each. Next, the second hand. Again, I used a rectangle with rounded corners, 4 pixels wide and 490 pixels long. Set the layout and color of the hand to your preferences. Finally, add a small masking circle at the center. Group the hand layers together. Next, we will add 3 number generators to easily set the start time for the clock, either directly in Motion or in Final Cut Pro once we publish them. We need one for hours, one for minutes, and one for seconds. Rename and group them. We'll keep them temporarily visible for debugging. In the final composition, we will hide that layer. Disable Animate on all 3, then publish the value parameter for each. Let's get the clock ticking. Set the start time to some arbitrary value, 7 hours, 45 minutes, 25 seconds. All 3 hands will take their starting positions from the 3 number generators we just added. Link the second hand's Z-axis rotation to the second's generator. Make sure to set the source parameter to object number's value. Set scale for seconds to 1.667. That's 100 divided by 60. For minutes, link the Z rotation to start minute and set the scale to 1.667. Again, that's 100 divided by 60. For hours, link the Z rotation to start hour and set the scale to 8.33. This comes from 100 divided by 12. We have all three hands linked with their start times, but they show the wrong values. We'll fix that literally in a few seconds. Back on the second hand, add a rate parameter to the same Z-axis rotation and set it to 6 degrees. Let's test the animation. The clock moves backwards, so let's rotate the Y-axis by 180 degrees to get rid of that problem. Apply the same 180-degree Y-axis rotation to the minute and hour hands. That should also correct the problem with the wrong starting positions. We want our second hand to tick every second, so let's add a quantize parameter to the same Z-axis rotation and set it to 6 degrees. We only need to sync the second hand with the playback rate. Both the minute and hour hands will change their rotation based on the progressing rotation of the second hand. The minute hand needs to be linked with the rotation of the second hand. Link the Z-axis rotation on minutes to the rotation of seconds. Set the scale to 0.01667, that's 1 divided by 60. Set the mode to add to source. You can scrub the timeline to see that the minutes slowly turn. To make the hour hand follow, link its rotation to minutes and set the scale to 0.08333, which is 1 divided by 12. Let's check whether everything works by setting a few different starting times. Excellent, job done, and not a single keyframe was used in the process.